So let's look at types of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue. Okay, so we already said that basically, in general, there are two types of epithelial tissue. Simple epithelial tissue and stratified epithelial tissue. Simple epithelial tissue is just one layer of cells. Stratified, more than one layer. That's the only difference. Okay? So we talked briefly about the types of cells. So the first type of cell was a squamous cell. And when a squamous cell is a flat cell, looks kind of like that. It's got a little nucleus in it, doesn't have a whole lot of cytoplasm. It's just a flattened cell like that. And it can be arranged like this. So that would be a simple epithelia, and it's called simple squamous epithelia. It's just one layer of those flattened squamous cells. It can also be arranged like this. Okay, so where they're stacked up on top of each other. Here's their little nucleus. Okay, so this is a stratified epithelia, and it's called stratified squamous epithelia. Okay, the next type of cell is a cuboidal cell. So a cuboidal cell looks like a cube and has a nice round nucleus in it. It can also be arranged in a line just like that. Of course, that is a simple epithelia. It's just one layer, and that is called simple cuboidal epithelia. They can also be arranged kind of like this. Okay, that is more than one layer, so it is a stratified. So it is stratified cuboidal epithelia. All right, the last type of cell is a columnar cell. And it is similar to the cuboidal cell, but it's taller. And it has its little nucleus towards the basal surface, the bottom of it. So they can be arranged just like this. Again, it's one layer, so it's a simple epithelia. So this is going to be simple columnar epithelia. Okay. There is a stratified columnar epithelia, but it's very rare. so we don't really study it. We don't really look at it. We don't look at it in lab or anything like that. It does exist, but it's pretty rare. So these are the main types of epithelial tissue that we're going to see. There are two sort of exceptions to this sort of rule. So there is a simple epithelia that looks a lot like a stratified epithelia, and it is called Pseudostratified Columnar epithelia. And in pseudostratified columnar epithelia, we have a basement membrane, so I'm just going to kind of draw that out right here. And all the cells are attached to the basement membrane. But up here on the apical side, not all of the cells reach the apical surface. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. So it's going to look a little strange. It's going to look very layered. It's not easy to draw either. But it's going to look really odd like that. Okay? And the nuclei are going to kind of be all over the place. You're going to see nuclei just here, just everywhere. So that's what gives it that stratified look, but is not stratified. It is simple. So we call it pseudostratified columnar epithelia. This type of epithelia will always have little hairs on it called cilia. And cilia is little hair type extensions off of the cells that move in a way that drag mucus across them. Okay? And pseudostratified columnar epithelia is generally in the respiratory tract, which is kind of a mucousy place. And it actually makes mucus through cells that look like little goblets. And they are embedded in the tissue. And they're called goblet cells. And these are cells that secrete mucus. So you'll see those cells in this type of epithelia. You will also see these cells in simple columnar epithelia. Okay? The next type of sort of odd epithelial tissue is called transitional epithelia. Transitional epithelial tissue is a stratified tissue, and its cells don't look like any of these three that we've just talked about. They don't look like squamous cells. They don't really look like cuboidal cells. They look like little bubbly cells. So they look kind of like this. And they're layered on themselves, and they look real, as I said, they look real bubbly. So here's the basement membrane. And there's the apical space there. Okay. And this type of transition, or this type of epithelia, the transitional epithelia, you will only see in urinary organs. So that being the ureter, the bladder, and the urethra. And that's it. It is only in those three places. Okay, so that's why it's kind of weird. The transitional epithelia doesn't have the regular functions like the protection or the absorption or the secretion or anything like that. Its main function really is that it can stretch out and snap back to its original position. So if you think about your bladder, when your bladder is empty, those cells look all bubbly and nice. But as your bladder fills, then they start to stretch out. But as soon as you empty your bladder, they snap back to being all bubbly again. Okay? So those are all the epithelial tissues that you'll be responsible for. And you'll need to be able to describe them and know where they are. One thing I would like to say about stratified squamous epithelia. So stratified squamous epithelia, this is the layered squamous cells. These are going to come in two flavors. Keratinized and non-keratinized. Keratinized stratified squamous epithelia you're going to find in the skin. Keratin is a protein that makes your nails hard, that makes your skin and your hair sort of hard, waterproof, all of that. Non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelia you will find in places like the esophagus, your throat, places like that that are inside that don't need that waterproof protection like your skin does. So skin, keratinized stratified squamous epithelia. Anywhere else you're going to have non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelia. All right, so the next video we're going to start on connective tissue.